Today we're going to be talking about developing and applying truth, love, and justice. I believe these are the most fundamental virtues, powers, and principles that operate in our lives. And to the degree that we can master them, we become masters of our own lives and masters of the universe. These principles are not unique to any science, any particular brand of philosophy. I think you'll find them in every religion and in every great tradition that exists in the earth. These powers have the possibility of transforming your life, of actually being a toolkit for you to use in creating a positive and powerful life that can have an effect on others and can develop your full potential. It's my hope and prayer that after this presentation, you'll be able to begin applying these immediately to your life. And even while I'm talking, you'll be able to see ways that they can help. There are many books that are out and many talks out available on how to be happy, how to be successful, how to be effective. Some of the popular ones, like the 8 Habits of Highly Effective People or the 12 Rules for Life. These have sold millions of copies and are all over the world, and people are looking to them to try and improve their lives. I believe the 3 principles of truth, love, and justice are contained in all of them. And in many ways, their rules, their lessons, their habits, their ideas are in some ways a consolidation of the key ideas of truth, love, and justice. So let me talk a little bit about how they develop and why they are so essential. First of all, in terms of our capacities as human beings, we all have the capacity to think, to feel, and to act. Those capacities are given to us at birth. They develop within the womb, but they're not active until we begin to use them in this world. And as we develop them, they go through various stages. Our abilities to think, to feel, and to act increase in complexity and in quality as we mature throughout life. And it is only as we exercise them and as we develop them that we're able to utilize them in ways that will help us to realize our full potential. As infants, we are very much in kind of a state like an animal. Our capacities to think, feel, and act really are centered in our body. We think, we feel, and we act with our body. When we are hungry, we cry. We don't think about, is this a good time to cry or what? There's no thought that goes into it. Our body feels something, we act on it, and that's how we progress. As we develop and as our minds and brains develop, we are able to realize that we are not the only person in the world. Although we are the center of the world, that our crying or our actions or our thinking, feeling, and acting has effects on other people. And we can then moderate our actions and such to help serve our self-interest to the best of our ability. Because at the very earliest stages of life, our truth and our love and our justice is all about serving my body. As we develop what we call an ego, our sense of self. And that sense of self has a perspective. It is an I perspective. And that I perspective sees the world through its egocentric eyes and ears and ways of knowing and ways of feeling and ways of acting. And it is wanting to know itself, it loves itself, and it is acting for itself. As we grow older, we become more ethnocentric. We begin to see that other people have perspectives, and we're able to begin to take on their perspectives, get a second person perspective. So we can see the world not only through our eyes, maybe we're hungry and we're upset, but also other people could be hungry and upset. These ways of thinking and feeling and acting help us develop gradually higher and higher ways of knowing truth, of being able to love, and being able to interact fairly and effectively in the world. So we go through these stages in basically from the body to the ego to the ethnocentric, which is actually where most of the world is right now. Most of the world sees truth, love, and justice through their ethnocentric eyes, through whatever their culture has defined as truth, love, and justice. What we need and what we're moving towards, and what is the next stage in human development if we are to reach maturity, because this ethnocentricity is really an adolescent stage. And it has its power because it moved us out of egocentrism, even though we never lose our body. When our body gets hungry, it's telling us through our ego and our ethnocentric ways how to satisfy that. When we're a baby, we satisfy that just by crying so that someone would feed us. As we become egocentric, we begin to use words. And as we become ethnocentric, we begin to know we can satisfy those desires through a culturally appropriate means. And as we progress even beyond that, we realize that there is a perspective beyond our us. There is a world centric or a more all embracing, which would be kind of all of us. In an ethnocentric kind of point of view, we think of us and them. There's our people and there's the other people. And us are the people who have the truth, who are the ones who are right. And those other people are somehow inferior. We do that also at the egocentric, that I think I know everything and other people don't, that I'm superior, and that it doesn't matter if other people are hungry or they have desires or needs. My needs come first. With the ethnocentric, you move beyond that and you come to, well, the group needs come first. We are, at least my needs get fulfilled through meeting the group needs. We now are at a stage in our development of civilization and society where we need to realize that the world is really one country. We need to have the perspective that all of us, the perspective of all of us, not just us, which makes an us and them, but all of us together, all of us as human beings. So when you have that perspective, truth, love, and justice look different. It's broader, it's more inclusive, it's more expansive. And that is happening in our world as we are here today. Through the increases in communications and transportation, people are beginning to see truth through a more world focus, a more global vision, and are able to transcend and realize that, yes, we as a group, an ethnocentric group, whether it be a nation, a religion, some other party, these things allow you to have a certain truth, but they are always limited truths. In the same way that when we were with our earlier stages, those truths were truth to us at that point, but they were limited. We could see the truth through only our own eyes and not through the eyes of someone else. Now, as we get more developed, then we could start seeing things through the eyes of our family and our broader community. Our vision began to expand. And for most people, naturally, without much effort on their own, they will be at an ethnocentric stage. Now, it does take a little effort, depending on where you are, to move into the next higher stage of applying and understanding truth, love, and justice. And this is really our purpose in life. Our purpose is to develop our capacities to know, to feel, and to act. We develop them through the food for those are truth, love, and justice. As we know truth, as we feel love, and as we act with justice, we grow. Not only we as individuals, but our communities grow and develop. And as they do, it begins a positive feedback loop. The healthier we become like one cell in the body that makes that body healthier. That healthier body can then feed us better. And this is very much of a positive feedback loop where as the individual progresses, that has a positive influence on its community, and its community then as it progresses. So we affect our environment and our environment affects us. This is a two-way street. We have to always be trying to not only improve ourselves, but to improve our community, our environment. So I want to talk a little bit about what these things look like and how they go through stages. And we're going to start off with truth. All of us have the capacity to know, think, and feel. All of us have some truth, some love, and some justice. One of the problems is that we begin to believe that we, whoever we are, have the truth, the love, and the ideal of justice. Unfortunately, our ideals are very much skewed towards our person. First of all, our body. If we feel hunger, we feel that more intensely than somebody else who may be even more hungry, may be starving. So we care more about ourselves, and we will tend to treat ourselves better than other people. That is the bias. That's how we are grown up. That is part of our challenge, is to control these lower desires, our desires of our body and our ego, which are always there. And they do need to be fed. But they should not control our lives, which unfortunately seems to be happening too much in our world. That people's whole purpose of life is to satisfy the needs of their body and their ego, which is a formula for unhappiness and despair. And we're seeing this despair grow as people spend more of their efforts and time trying to satisfy their ego and physical desires, which are natural. We have them, but they are not our purpose in life. We are not animals. We have an animal body, but we also have been given a mind. And that mind has these capacities to know, to feel, and are to know, love, and will. If we don't use those capacities, we've failed in our purpose in life. And ultimately, we should use those to know, love, and serve ourselves initially. But as we develop that, if we limit ourselves to that, we stay in a childish state. Now, when we come to know, love, and serve our communities, we move to a higher state and we become healthier. But we actually have capacity to go beyond that. We have the capacity to know, love, and serve the world. And beyond that, I mean, we're really talking about we have a body, ego, ethnocentric, world-centric. We can go beyond that to a universal-centric. In other words, there is a knowledge or a truth with a capital T that is out there, but none of us have it. Many of us imagine we have it, and of course we have what we think is true, but it is limited and faulty. And if we don't realize that, we can't grow. The same is true of our love. We think, oh, well, we're being very kind and caring. We have to realize that however kind and caring we are, that's being limited. That is limited by our limited perspectives, our limited stages of growth. And the same in terms of our serving, our being fair to other people, doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. There are many psychological experiments and many studies that show these stages and show how we tend to favor ourselves. If we're not conscious of that, we will tend to not grow. The other thing that's important to recognize is that these qualities need to be moderated. Moderation in all things is a statement that is often heard, and I believe there is truth to it. And that truth, though, doesn't mean that you aren't truthful all the time or loving all the time or fair all the time. The moderation is that you have to moderate all of them together. You need to put truth with love, with justice, because any one of them to an excess can be destructive. And it's only when you keep them moderated. Now, each one of us as individuals tends to favor one of those areas. We tend to be focused more on truth. We tend to focus more on love and more on justice. Or we tend to be more interested in the mind. We tend to be head people, heart people, or hand people. It's another way of saying it. We are thinkers, we are feelers, we are doers. What we need is to have balance in our lives. We need to bring those three together. And if we don't, we are limiting our capacity. I often think of them as like spokes on a wind turbine or a windmill or a pinwheel, whatever you want to think about. As these grow out, we have greater power. We can interact with our environment, whatever changes and chances come to us. We can take those and we can translate them into positive energy. Just as a wind turbine will take the wind and transfer it into electricity. We can do the same thing. But if we are out of balance, if we're all heads, all thinking about things and not doing things or not using our hearts, that turbine is not going to spin in a good way. It's going to be out of balance. It can spin, but it will be so much more effective. And so I think it's a helpful exercise. So with that, I'll close this section and we'll finish then the third part. Thank you.